Hello, my name is Valentina Giannini. I work for the Euro-Mediterranean Center on Climate Change, which is leading a consortium called the European Topic Center on Climate Change Impacts, Vulnerabilities and Adaptation, a framework contract for the European Environment Agency. Today, I will present the European Climate Adaptation Platform, Climate Adapt. I will briefly walk you through the features and the information which can be found on the platform, trying to show how we support and work with local authorities and other local users. Climate Adapt was published in 2012 and it's jointly owned by the European Environment Agency and DG Clima, but other DGs of the European Commission also contribute information and thoughts on how to develop the platform. You can see the URL where you can find the page, and you can see a very important document, a strategy for 2019 and 2021, which can be downloaded from the About section of Climate Adapt. You can see there is a blue menu bar at the top. Through it you can access all the relevant information published on Climate Adapt. We provide synthesis information, sectoral synthesis information, but we also provide knowledge such as tools and access to other kinds of information. We also provide a series of descriptions of items. We call this the database of Climate Adapt, where we present relevant tools, reports, projects which all deal with climate adaptation. It is very important to discuss here the target audience. The core target audience is governmental decision makers and organizations supporting them, which means that we are trying to provide information for people who are actually deciding or creating policies to address climate adaptation. But we also know there is a wider spectrum of users, such mainly as institutions which can be thought of as intermediaries, meaning that they're in between the knowledge, the science which is behind climate change adaptation, and the target audience, the final users of this information. We were able to have some confirmation that we are actually reaching the target audience during an evaluation exercise we carried out in 2017 through a survey where we had a specific question. You can see the answers to the questions on the screen now. Roughly 300 people answered the question, and roughly 1/4 are research organizations. A little less than 1/4 are national focal points or national reference centers, meaning that, as I was saying earlier, a big portion of the people who are accessing the website daily are actually people who are in between, they're intermediary organizations, in between the decision and policy makers and the science and knowledge which is published online. The aim of the platform. When Climate Adapt was launched, the idea was to create a space where information on climate adaptation could be found, one space for the whole of the European Union, to support Europe in adapting to climate change, helping users to access and share data and information. The activities to keep the database and the website updated are divided into a series of subtasks, deliverables, like in a lot of projects. So we have the first 3 tasks, which are looking into updating constantly what is in the database, and the case studies and adaptation options as well, which are part of the database, and I will say more about this later, and the web content, so that all the policy developments, all the science which is constantly being produced are actually found in the website. We also are concerned about the dissemination of the information we publish, and I will show later some examples of what we do. And then, of course, we have some management, some information technology, and some reporting on the activities we carry out. The European Topic Center on Climate Change Impacts, Vulnerability and Mitigation is a consortium of the organizations which are listed on the website, online. These are actually a subset of the institutions which incorporate the consortium, because these are only the ones that are updating Climate Adapt. There are other institutions that participate in the European Topic Center. But other than this, any person with an EONET account can actually share the information online. As Climate Adapt is the platform, the European platform, to provide information on the climate adaptation, we are very looking into the science and knowledge which is constantly being published, and the policy content which is constantly as well evolving to address issues and vulnerabilities as they become evident. So we are constantly not only keeping the platform updated, but we're also constantly trying to improve the way in which we present the information. For example, we are working now on improving the search functions to access the information in the database, trying to include some analytical capacity. We are developing a map viewer to improve accessibility to case studies and adaptation options. And we're also trying to understand how to enable countries present the information they are elaborating on climate adaptation on the website, so that other countries can see what other people are doing, and in this shared environment we can all progress towards a better informed climate adaptation. We are also trying to improve and enhance interoperability, because we know that there are other platforms at the global and at the local level and at all the levels in between, and we try not to duplicate information but rather to link to this other information so that more information is available to the public. Two new features will are being developed now and will become available in 2021. One is the European Climate Data Explorer with Copernicus Climate Change Services, is a joint activity to provide an interface to the climate data store hosted in Climate Adapt. And this tool will display and analyze climate data in a more user-friendly way. The other feature is the European Climate Change and Health Virtual Observatory, which is again a joint effort with other DGs and other institutions working on health and climate change. As far as interoperability is concerned, we're also taking steps so that through Climate Adapt you will be able to access much more than just the information which is published on Climate Adapt. We had a session at ECA 2019 in Lisbon where we discussed with other colleagues about how platforms can become increasingly complementary one to the other, not to duplicate efforts and information provided in the internet. We have a specific project with the Disaster Risk Management Knowledge Center of the JRC, trying to link their database with ours. Of course, there are issues which are not trivial, because the databases were created independently one of the other, so it's very difficult, as you may understand, to link the two. And then we have a pilot project with the Spanish platform Adapteca. We've imported a few of their case studies, and this is what I'm showing on the right of the screen. On the top you have the case study as it looks imported in Climate Adapt, and on the bottom you have the original case study in Adapteca in Spanish. And this is also very interesting because it's offering us the possibility of having some content in the future in other languages other than English, because Climate Adapt is entirely in English now. We're also trying to support users in other ways. We have developed 4 tutorial videos, one for local authorities, one for national and regional authorities, and one for transnational authorities. And these 3 videos should guide them where to find information relevant for them to fulfill their mandate on the platform itself. The 4th video explains a bit in more detail what information is found at the urban scale, discussing how to access it and how it can be used. We also have a dedicated section for people interested in urban issues, which is the Urban Adaptation Map Viewer, displaying a lot of information coming from the cities. This is a joint effort with the Covenant of Mayors. We have two tools, the Urban Adaptation Support Tool and the Adaptation Support Tool. Both of them are comprised of 6 steps, ranging from problem identification to monitoring, in a sort of iterative idea of how we can improve ourselves and adapt always better to climate adapt. In these steps, you not only find the description of the activities you should be designing, planning, and implementing, but you also find a wealth of resources and further reading to understand more about your issues. To engage further the users, we also run a series of webinars, trying as far as possible to engage users by having some person from outside Climate Adapt present their own experience in using information they have found on Climate Adapt. I'm presenting the screenshots of the last 3. We have published a booklet showcasing 10 of the more than 100 case studies that we have published in Climate Adapt, and this, as well as other things, can be downloaded from the About section of Climate Adapt. And most importantly, we try as much as possible to accept any invitation to speak to audiences about Climate Adapt. And what I'm showing on the bottom right is an exercise that we developed for ISPRA, the Italian National Environmental Protection Agency. So we are providing some content in Italian to guide people in accessing content on Climate Adapt. Another exercise we carried out when we were evaluating how well we were addressing users' needs is a catalog of use cases. These are 17 use cases that we have identified where local authorities, national or transnational to city level, have actually used some content of Climate Adapt for their daily work. And we've developed a template where we describe what activities were carried out and for which goal. Thank you very much for your attention. This is all for my presentation. I hope it guided you and gave you an insight of what can be found in Climate Adapt. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to contact me using my email or the general email from Climate Adapt. Thank you again, and I wish you the best for climate adaptation.